My name is Rachel Parker, and at 32, I never thought my own parents would choose favorites among their grandchildren. For 6 years, my twins Lily and Max were the center of their world until my sister Jessica had her baby girl. Suddenly, my kids became invisible, treated like strangers in their own family. What my parents didn't know was that their betrayal would lead me to uncover a web of lies that would change everything. I'm a pediatric nurse at Portland Children's Hospital, a job I'm passionate about, especially after becoming a single mother. My husband David died in a car accident when the twins were just 2 years old. The grief nearly destroyed me, but I had 2 toddlers who needed their mother. During those dark months, my parents, Carol and Robert Parker, were my lifeline. They practically moved in to help with Lily and Max while I learned to function through the fog of loss. As the twins grew, their bond with their grandparents deepened. Lily, our little artist, would spend hours painting with Grandma Carol, who set up a special easel just for her. Max, our curious scientist, would follow Grandpa Robert around the garage, learning how engines work and building simple robots from spare parts. Every Sunday, we'd gather at their house for dinner, the twins racing through the door to share their weekly adventures. My parents were present for everything: school plays, soccer games, parent-teacher conferences. When I worked late shifts, they'd pick up the kids and help with homework. They never missed celebrating the twins' achievements, no matter how small. Then there's my younger sister Jessica. She's always been the family's golden child, charming, spontaneous, and somehow exempt from the rules that applied to me. While I studied hard and followed expectations, Jessica coasted through life with our parents making excuses for her mistakes. I accepted this dynamic long ago, focusing on building my own stable life for my children. Jessica lived in California after college, working in public relations and living what appeared to be a glamorous lifestyle with her husband Marcus, a tech consultant. They traveled extensively, their social media filled with exotic locations and expensive restaurants. Last year, they moved back to Portland, and during our first family dinner together in years, Jessica announced she was pregnant after struggling with fertility issues. I was genuinely happy for her, despite our complicated relationship. My parents were over the moon, already planning how they'd help with the nursery in Jessica's new house just 20 minutes from theirs. I started noticing subtle changes almost immediately. They missed Max's science fair for the first time ever, explaining they had to help Jessica with baby preparations. They canceled our Sunday dinner twice in 1 month because Jessica needed their support for various pregnancy symptoms. When I mentioned these changes to the twins, they just shrugged it off, but I could see the confusion in their eyes. Why aren't Grandma and Grandpa coming to dinner anymore? Lily asked one Sunday as we ate alone at our kitchen table. They're just excited about the new baby, I explained, hoping things would normalize once Jessica's daughter arrived. Sophia Grace Martinez was born on a crisp October morning. I brought the twins to the hospital to meet their new cousin, coaching them on how to be gentle with babies. Lily had drawn a welcome card covered in hearts and flowers, while Max had picked out a stuffed elephant from his favorite collection as a gift. When we entered Jessica's hospital room, my parents were completely absorbed with the tiny bundle in Jessica's arms. They barely acknowledged our arrival, not even glancing at Lily's carefully crafted card as she quietly placed it on the bedside table. My father, who usually greeted the twins with bear hugs and booming hellos, simply nodded in our direction before turning back to Sophia. "Isn't she the most perfect baby you've ever seen?" my mother whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. I watched Lily's face fall at those words. Later, as we drove home, she asked quietly, "Mommy, was I perfect when I was born?" The question broke my heart. "You and Max were absolutely perfect, sweetheart. The most beautiful babies in the world." In the weeks following Sophia's birth, my parents virtually disappeared from our lives. Sunday dinners were indefinitely postponed because they were helping Jessica adjust to motherhood. When I called, conversations were brief and always circled back to Sophia's latest developments: how she smiled earlier than most babies, how alert she was, how she was clearly advanced for her age. By Christmas, the favoritism had become impossible to ignore. We arrived at my parents' house to find it transformed into what looked like a shrine to Sophia. A massive banner reading "Sophia's First Christmas" stretched across the living room, and the tree was surrounded by mountains of presents, most labeled, "For the baby." The gifts for Lily and Max were clearly afterthoughts, generic art supplies that showed no knowledge of Lily's current interests, and a basic science kit for Max that was far below his advanced level. Sophia, barely 3 months old, couldn't appreciate the spectacle, but Jessica gleefully opened gifts on her behalf while my parents exclaimed over each item. The twins sat quietly on the couch, their small gifts clutched in their hands, watching with growing confusion. "Grandma, look at the ornament I made for you," Lily said during a brief lull, holding out a carefully crafted snowflake with our family photo in the center. "That's nice, dear," my mother replied without really looking, as Sophia had started fussing. "Robert, get the camera." Sophia's reaching for her new toy. Lily's hand slowly lowered, tears filling her eyes. Max immediately put his arm around his sister, whispering something that made her smile weakly. Watching my children comfort each other in the face of such obvious dismissal was heartbreaking. That evening, after the twins were asleep, I called my parents to express my concerns about how they'd treated Lily and Max. "You're overreacting, Rachel," my mother dismissed. "The twins are older, they understand that babies need more attention. Sophia's first Christmas is special. The twins notice the difference in how you treated them," I insisted. "Lily was hurt that you didn't even look at her handmade gift. She's 8 years old," my father interjected. "She shouldn't need constant praise for everything she does." Sophia is at a crucial developmental stage. Their dismissive attitude left me speechless. These weren't the loving grandparents who had once moved heaven and earth to make my children feel special. The pattern continued into the new year. My parents began canceling plans with us whenever Jessica needed something, no matter how trivial. When Lily won first place in the district art competition, they promised to attend the ceremony but never showed up. I later discovered they had been helping Jessica interview potential nannies that day, something that could have easily been rescheduled. "It's just an elementary school art contest, Rachel," Jessica said when I expressed disappointment. "There will be plenty more." Sophia had her 4-month checkup that week, and I needed mom and dad's support. They committed to Lily first. I pointed out, "You need to understand that Sophia needs them more right now," she replied with a patronizing smile. "Your kids have had them all to themselves for years." Every summer since the twins were 3, my parents had taken them to their lake cabin for a week of grandparent-grandchild bonding. These trips were the highlight of Lily and Max's year: fishing with Grandpa, baking with Grandma, campfires, and swimming in the clear lake water. This year, the twins started planning their lake trip in early spring. Lily created detailed packing lists and began collecting shells and interesting rocks to show her grandparents. Max researched the local wildlife and created a nature journal he planned to fill during their stay. 1 week before they were scheduled to leave, my phone rang. "Rachel, we need to discuss the lake trip," my mother said without preamble, her voice oddly formal. "Is everything okay? The kids are so excited they're already packed." "That's what I'm calling about. We've decided it would be best if the twins didn't come this year." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What? Why?" "They've been looking forward to this for months." "Well, Sophia needs special attention right now. She's at such a critical age for development, and having the twins there too would be overwhelming for us." "Overwhelming? You've managed both twins for years without any problems." "That was different. Sophia requires constant supervision. She's just learning to walk, and the cabin isn't childproof for a toddler." "It wasn't childproof when you took the twins at 3 either." "You made accommodations then." There was a pause before my mother sighed. "Rachel, I don't think you understand. Jessica wants this time for Sophia to bond with us without distractions. The twins have had us to themselves for years. It's Sophia's turn now." The truth emerged: this wasn't about safety or being overwhelmed. Jessica had orchestrated the whole thing, wanting exclusive grandparent time for her daughter, and my parents had agreed, breaking their promise to my children. "You're okay with devastating Lily and Max? With breaking a promise you've kept for 5 years? Don't be dramatic, Rachel. They're old enough to understand that plans change. Sophia is younger and needs us more right now." That evening, I had to tell the twins that their annual lake trip was canceled. Lily's face crumpled immediately, tears streaming down her cheeks as she asked what they had done wrong. Max pressed his lips together tightly, blinking rapidly to hold back his own tears. "You didn't do anything wrong," I assured them, pulling them both into a hug. "Grandma and Grandpa just need to spend time with baby Sophia this year." "But we love Sophia too," Lily sobbed. "We could all go together." "Will they ever want to spend time with us again?" Max asked quietly, the question breaking my heart. That night, I listened to my children cry themselves to sleep and made a decision. I wouldn't allow my parents' favoritism to continue hurting them. I requested time off work and planned an alternative vacation, a long weekend at the coast. It wasn't the week-long lake adventure they'd been expecting, but the beach cottage I found had tide pools to explore and bonfires on the sand. The day before we were supposed to leave, Max woke up with a high fever and strep throat. Our beach trip would have to be postponed until he recovered. I remembered leaving the twins' children's Tylenol at my parents' house during our last visit months ago, and with pharmacies experiencing shortages, I decided to make the hour drive to their lake cabin to retrieve it. I called to let them know I was coming, but it went straight to voicemail. I left a message explaining about Max's illness and headed out, leaving the twins with our trusted neighbor. As I turned onto the private road leading to the cabin, I was surprised by the number of cars parked along the driveway. The sounds of laughter and music drifted through the air. Puzzled, I parked and walked toward the house. The front door was propped open, and I stepped inside to find at least 20 adults and several children. Colorful balloons and streamers decorated the living room, and a banner reading "Welcome to the Lake, Sophia" hung across the fireplace. They hadn't just uninvited my children, they had replaced their traditional vacation with a party for Sophia, inviting their entire social circle to celebrate. I stood frozen in the entryway when I overheard my mother's voice from the kitchen. "Sophia is such a joy. It's amazing watching our only grandchild experience the lake house for the first time." Our only grandchild. As if Lily and Max didn't exist. Without thinking, I walked into the kitchen. "Only grandchild," I repeated, my voice unnaturally calm. "That's interesting, Mom, considering I have two children who have been coming here since they were 3. My mother's face paled, then flushed with embarrassment as her friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Rachel," she stammered, "we didn't expect you. Clearly, you were too busy throwing a party for your only grandchild to return my call about Max being sick." My father appeared in the doorway. "What's going on?" "I just heard Mom tell her friends that Sophia is her only grandchild. I'm curious, when exactly were Lily and Max disowned?" Jessica appeared then, Sophia on her hip. "What's going on? Why are you crashing our party, Rachel?" "I came to get Max's medicine. He has strep throat, which you'd know if anyone in this family bothered to check on us anymore." "I'm sorry to hear that," Jessica said with practiced sympathy. "But you could have called instead of barging in here." "I did call." No one answered. Apparently, the party for the golden grandchild was too important. My mother stepped forward, her voice harsh. "That's enough, Rachel. You're being childish. Lily and Max are wonderful, but they're just normal kids. Sophia is special, she needs extra attention." The words struck like a physical blow. Just normal kids. As if that made them less deserving of love. "Every child is special," I said, my voice breaking, "including Lily and Max, who still make you birthday cards even though you forgot both their birthdays this year." "You're overreacting," my father said. "We've been busy helping Jessica. You've been replacing us," I corrected. "And frankly, I don't understand why." "I think you should leave," Jessica said coldly. "You're ruining Sophia's party with your jealousy." I looked around at the party, at the guests pretending not to stare, at my mother's embarrassed but unrepentant expression, at Jessica's triumphant smile. "I'll get Max's medicine and go. Enjoy your party for your only grandchild." After that incident, I limited contact with my parents and Jessica. I told the twins that Grandma and Grandpa needed space, trying to shield them from the full truth. A week later, I met my best friend Sarah for coffee and told her everything. "Something doesn't add up," Sarah said when I finished. "This sudden change when Sophia was born seems extreme. Your parents were devoted to the twins for years. I've been trying to understand it myself. When exactly did things start changing?" "When Sophia was born. Or before that?" I thought carefully. "It started when Jessica announced her pregnancy, but the real shift happened when she and Marcus moved back to Portland. That's when my parents began missing the twins' events." "And you don't think that timing is significant?" "Jessica moves back, and suddenly your parents pull away from you and the kids?" I hadn't considered the correlation before. That evening, I sat down and created a timeline of events. The pattern was clear. Every major shift in my parents' behavior coincided with Jessica's increased presence in their lives. Something else nagged at me. A few months ago, my father had mentioned refinancing their house, which seemed odd since they were close to paying it off. I decided to call our family attorney, David Chen, who had handled my husband's estate. After discussing updating my own will, I casually brought up my parents. Dad mentioned refinancing the house recently. I was surprised since they were so close to paying it off. David hesitated. I probably shouldn't discuss your parents' financial decisions, but since you're concerned, the refinancing wasn't my recommendation. They needed access to equity immediately. When I asked why, your father was evasive. Do you know how much they borrowed? David sighed. About $200,000. Your father said it was for an investment opportunity, but wouldn't provide details. The timing was telling right after Jessica moved back to town. That weekend, I dropped off some forms at my parents' house. While my father was reading them, I noticed mail on the counter. The top letter was a bank statement, and when he stepped out to take a call, I glimpsed it quickly. What I saw confirmed my suspicions. Regular monthly withdrawals labeled Loan J. Martinez. Some as large as $4,000. Dating back to when Jessica moved home, Jessica wasn't just taking my parents' time and attention, she was taking their money too. When my mother returned from shopping, she left her phone on the counter while putting away groceries. When it chimed, with a text, I saw Jessica's name on the screen. After my mother went to the pantry, I did something I'm not proud of. I glanced at the unlocked phone. The text exchange was visible. Jessica, don't forget we need the money for Sophia's preschool. Deposit by Friday. Mom, we just gave you $3,000 last week for the roof repairs. Jessica, this is important for Sophia's future. Besides, I'm the one who'll be taking care of you when you're older, not Rachel. She's already talking about that job offer in Denver. I had never discussed moving to Denver. There had been a recruiting email months ago that I'd mentioned once in passing before declining. How did Jessica know about it? And why was she using it to manipulate our parents? I scrolled quickly and found more lies, claims that I badmouthed them to neighbors, that the twins said they didn't want to come to Sunday dinners anymore, that I was planning to move away. All fabrications designed to drive a wedge between my parents and us. Armed with evidence, I requested a meeting with my parents, asking that Jessica not be present. To my surprise, they agreed. I arrived with a folder of documents, bank statements, screenshots of Jessica's messages, and a timeline of their withdrawal from the twins' lives. After dinner, we sat in the living room and I laid out everything. In less than a year, you've gone from devoted grandparents to strangers in Lily and Max's lives. I need to understand why. That's not fair, my father protested. We've been helping Jessica with Sophia. I showed them the bank statements. $200,000 from refinancing your nearly paid off house. Monthly loans that I suspect are never repaid. What's Jessica doing with all this money? My parents exchanged alarmed glances. That's between us and Jessica, my father said defensively. I showed them the screenshots of Jessica's text messages. Did you know Jessica has been lying to you about me? I never considered moving to Denver. I never badmouthed you to the twins. They never said Sunday dinners were boring. My mother's hand trembled as she examined the messages. She said you were planning to move away, that you were distancing the twins from us intentionally. She showed us job offer emails, my father added, confusion evident in his voice. I never received any formal offer. How would Jessica have emails about it? My father looked uncomfortable. She said you forwarded them to her for advice. I never did that. Jessica has been manipulating you, and you've chosen to believe her over me every time. The realization hit them simultaneously. My mother's face crumpled while my father sank heavily into his chair. Why would she do this? My mother whispered, I think she wanted your undivided attention and financial support. As long as the twins and I were close to you, she'd have to share both. We've made a terrible mistake, my mother said, openly weeping. Yes, you have, I said honestly. You chose to believe Jessica's lies instead of trusting our relationship. You abandoned Lily and Max when they needed you. We thought we were helping Jessica, my father explained weakly. She said she was struggling financially, that Sophia had special needs requiring expensive interventions. Does Sophia have special needs? I asked, genuinely concerned. My father looked uncomfortable. We've never seen evidence of it, but Jessica had documents from specialists, documents you never verified directly with any doctor. They had been thoroughly deceived, but they had also allowed themselves to be deceived. I still don't understand why you were so quick to believe her, I said. My mother hesitated. Jessica has always needed more support. When she came back with Sophia and told us how much she needed us, it felt good to be needed that way. You've always been so independent. Because I rebuilt my life after David died without depending on you financially, you assumed we didn't need you as much? You never ask for help, my father said quietly. Jessica asks constantly and makes us feel essential. The irony was painful. My strength and independence had somehow made them value our relationship less, while Jessica's manipulation had been rewarded. Are Emma and Ethan your grandchildren? I asked directly. Do you want a relationship with them? Of course we do, my mother said immediately. We've made a horrible mistake. We love those children. I'm willing to work on rebuilding trust, I said carefully, but it has to happen slowly, in a way that protects Lily and Max from further hurt. Whatever it takes, my father said solemnly. The following months were a period of careful rebuilding. My parents began visiting regularly, always at our house and with me present. They attended every school event, helped with homework, and slowly rebuilt their relationships with the twins. We established clear boundaries, no last-minute cancellations, no comparisons to Sophia, and consistent, reliable presence in their lives. Eventually, my parents confronted Jessica about the deception and financial manipulation. When she couldn't provide the medical documentation she claimed justified the money, the truth unraveled. Much of the funds had gone to Jessica's shopping addiction and secret vacations, not Sophia's care or their household expenses. Jessica was furious when my parents cut off the financial support and established boundaries. She threatened to prevent them from seeing Sophia, but they held firm, having learned the painful lesson of allowing one child to manipulate their relationships with others. 6 months later, we had our first family dinner at my parents' house. Since the crisis began, the twins were nervous but excited, especially when they discovered my mother had prepared all their favorite foods, remembered exactly as they liked them. The healing wasn't linear. There were difficult moments when past hurts resurfaced, but gradually, trust was rebuilt through consistent actions and honest communication. My parents learned to value all their grandchildren equally, while I learned that family isn't defined by perfect behavior, but by the willingness to acknowledge mistakes and work toward healing. Today, Lily and Max have their grandparents back in their lives, not as the perfect figures they once idolized, but as flawed humans who love them enough to fight for their relationship. We still see Sophia occasionally during supervised visits, and I hope someday Jessica will acknowledge her actions and seek genuine reconciliation. This experience taught me that true family isn't just about blood relations, it's about the people who choose to show up consistently, who fight for the relationship when things get difficult, and who love you not despite your flaws, but through them. Sometimes the family we build is stronger than the one we're born into, forged through forgiveness, honesty, and the courage to demand better from those we love.